Total 5611, contact departure, have a good flight.
Departure 5611.
Southwest 41, Phoenix Tower, 25 right, line up and wait.
On the way to 25 right, Southwest 41.
Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot. I'm your host, Captain Mac, and we left off our last flight. We flew into Sholo, and today we're going to be flying from Sholo back down to Phoenix. But more importantly, we are 4 hours and basically 2 minutes from that promotion to first officer that we're chasing after right now. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say we're 4 hours and 3 minutes, and here's why. We have to go over the hours. We got to go over those hours for that next rank. So if we need 20 hours to get to the next rank, we need to have 20 hours in 1 minute, basically. That's what we need. That's what we're going to strive for. So we're going to say we've got 4 hours and 3 minutes until that next rank, and we are going to be rocking and rolling and maybe flying something like this guy right here. So that being said, we are currently up in Sholo. We're going to be heading down to Phoenix. Now, I know the next two flights show Phoenix back to Sholo, Sholo back to Phoenix, but we're not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until the next flight, not this one, but the next flight, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to delete bids, how you can remove them. Because I don't think I've shown that to you yet. So I'm going to leave those on there for now, and then we'll remove them at the start of our next flight, and that way you'll know how to do that as well. And then I'm thinking about, not, this is not a guarantee now, but I'm thinking that maybe I'll fly that Metroliner. Yeah, a flight from Phoenix to Vegas. I'm thinking about doing it. Now, if I decide to do that, you guys are going to have to go easy on me because that airplane confuses the bajonkers out of me. It's really a difficult airplane to understand, so there's no guarantee I'll be doing things the right way. I'll certainly try, but there's no guarantee I will. That being said, if I decide to fly it, don't beat me up too bad. You got to go easy on me, okay? But if I decide to do that, then that'll take us out of state, actually. We'll hop on over to Las Vegas and then see if we can do our last couple flights maybe into Southern California and prepare to start our first officer flights out of there in a CRJ or something. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking while I'm talking here. Anyway, so we'll see what the future holds. What we do know for certain is that in 4 hours and 3 minutes, we are going to be a new rank. So wherever we're at that point, we want to be able to hop in a CRJ or an ERJ or something like that and start flying some of those longer, faster flights, right? That's the point. So enough said about that. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at today's flight so we can get moving. Still Great Lakes Airlines, Flight 7152 Charlie, from Sholo down to Phoenix. Still in the Beech 1900. We are still going to fly that King Air 200. Why? Because I love it. Flight 1 did an awesome job on that airplane. They really did. And because we're allowed to substitute that, any Beechlight aircraft with a Beech 1900, we're going to keep substituting it. Why the heck not, right? Why wouldn't you? We don't need the weather information here. We don't need them to dispatch our route, and we don't need their charts. Now, all that being said, I use different sources for that. Doesn't mean that you have to use outside sources. You can use the information that's right here. You know, I have charts from Navigraph on the cloud and stuff like that, and I use those. You may not have that, and that stuff costs money, all right? You don't have to spend money to do this any more than you've already spent. I mean, you got to obviously buy a flight simulator and a computer to fly it on, but beyond that, technically, you really could get away with not spending anything else. All right, I'm not going to harp on that. The point is this information is available here for you to use if you should so desire. If not, by all means, use a different source. We're simply not using it for our flights because I don't need to use it. If anybody's ever interested in me showing you, I've shown you this before, but if you want to see it again, just let me know down in the comments, and I'll do another video that highlights use of the dispatch system, and I'll show you their charts and stuff like that. All right, have I talked long enough? I think I probably have. So, yeah, that's 4 minutes, 10 seconds. Boy, I can really talk, huh? Let's hop on over to ACARS, get our flight set up real quick, and then we can hop in the airplane and get started. Okay, real quick look at our ACARS here, folks. You can see I've already gone ahead and grabbed that next bid. It is Great Lakes Airlines Flight 7152 Charlie. A couple things we always want to check on here. Let's make sure that our departure airport is the same as our current location so that we don't get charged a jump seat. Remember, jump seats are charged in hours, flight hours, not in money. not virtual dollars, but flight hours. So when we have 4 hours and 3 minutes left to get to that promotion, if we take a jump seat somewhere, let's say it costs us an hour, then guess what? Now we've got 5 hours and 3 minutes left till promotion. You see where I'm coming from with that? So yeah, let's make sure that we're departing from our current location. Now, at some point, sooner or later, you will see me do a jump seat, and I will show that to you, and that's all right. It's okay to do it, and you certainly can do it now if you want. But we're not going to do that yet because we want to get promoted. Also, quick note on jump seats that I haven't mentioned in the past. Let's say we get our 4 hours and 3 minutes. Okay, so that puts us at 20 hours and 1 minute. We get promoted to first officer. Bam, we're ready to rock and roll, right? And then we take a jump seat that costs us an hour. Guess what? When you lose those hours, because it drops you back below 20, you get demoted until you get back above 20. So keep that in mind as far as jump seats go. And now some of you are thinking, oh, that's just stupid. That's retarded. No, it's really not. You have to pay for that jump seat. That's the way we do things at PVA, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, so just keep that in mind if you decide you want to do a jump seat. All right, enough about that. Let's set up our flight real quick. I do have a route already. You guys know I have a problem talking, so just kind of bear with me on that. I do have a flight plan already set up, but I'm going to show you this feature again, how to grab a route from them. I actually did it backwards here, so let me throw this in there real quick. We're flying from Sholo, generally west, so it's going to be an even number. So we're going to go 22,000 feet, and then we're going to click on previous routes here. And if any pop up, there we go. We're going to take one of their routes. Doesn't matter which one. Select it, and now our route's in there. Now keep in mind, this route is for this flight map, and it doesn't matter if we follow it. It's just a requirement to put a route in there for ACARS, okay? Enough said, talked long enough. That was another 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Good times. We're actually moving along pretty quick here, and we're going to keep rolling. So let's go ahead and hop on over in the aircraft and start our checklist and get ready to get this airplane off the ground. Welcome back to Sholo, ladies and gentlemen, and our King Air 200. We are going to be flying the same aircraft, just a different paint scheme, because I like that black and kind of gold color. It's a pretty nice paint scheme. So we're going to give this one a fly today, but other than that, everything else is going to be the same as it has been for our previous King Air 200 flights. So what do you say we hop on in and get started with our before engine start checklist. As always, the elevator trim is supposed to be set to 0, and we're going to go ahead and bring that up just a little bit because I like to have it that way so I don't forget. Cabin doors are locked, baggage is secure, weight and center of gravity has been checked, brakes are set in case you're wondering. That's the park and brake there. Out is on, in is off, and switches are all off. This is the off position for the mic switch there, in case anybody's wondering about that. Landing gear handle is down. Power levers are to idle. They're kind of all whacked out there, aren't they? Let's go ahead and, alright, let's see. We pull them, they like to hop back up. You may remember that. So we'll pull them on up to the idle there. That's for the beta range below the idle position there. So power levers are now at idle. Propeller controls need to be full forward. That's these bad boys here. Full forward they are. And condition levers in the cutoff position, which they are. Cabin signs are set to fasten seat belts and no smoking. And let's just hop down here so we can get a closer look. Fasten seat belts and no smoking is that position there. Cabin temperature mode needs to be off. That's this one here, and it is. Vent blowers are set to auto. Auto position on this for some reason seems to be off as far as the little indicator tells me, but that's where we'll flip it anyway. Aft blower needs to be off, which it is. Electric heat needs to be off, which it is. Oxygen supply pressure check. That's this gauge right here. We have plenty of pressure. Oxygen supply control handle. We all know by now that I don't know which one this is, so that's the one I'm using for now, but I have a feeling still to this day that it's not the right one, so please, somebody still waiting on something down in the comments there, help me out with that, will you? Alright, let's hop on over here and we're going to start our fuel checks. Fuel firewall valves need to be closed. This is the closed position. And standby pumps come on. Listen for operation. There's one. And there's two. Battery switch comes on at this point. Everything starts going crazy. And what does that mean? Take a look. What'd I forget? I forgot to do our fuel, didn't I? So I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. I don't mind showing the error to you guys. The error was made, so I'm going to turn all that back off. I'm going to pause the video for just a minute, and I'm going to fix my fuel load real quick. So I'll be right back. And we're back. Sorry about that, guys. It's, you know, well, whatever. We forget things sometimes. Okay, so let's go ahead and just jump right back up. We've already gone ahead and done our fuel firewall valves are closed. Standby pumps need to come on now. Both are working, and then the battery comes on. And now we've got an appropriate load of fuel. Now we go ahead and let's see here. The fuel pressure annunciators should be on, it says. And they are. That's left fuel pressure, right fuel pressure there. And then we go ahead and we open our fuel firewall valves. And that should turn those lights off, which it did. Try not to move back and forth too fast so I don't give you a headache. Standby pumps go off at this point. And the pressure indicators come back on. Cross feed alternatively left and right. When you do that, the fuel pressure lights go off. And in the middle, they're on. And in the right, they're off. Are we having fun yet? Who's dizzy? I'm starting to get dizzy. Crossfeed off. Auxiliary transfer switches both need to be on auto. That's these two switches here. No transfer lights. We press those to test them. They are both working and we're good to go. Check the fuel quantity in both the main and the auxiliary tanks. There's nothing in the auxiliary tanks, in case you're wondering. There it is, down to 0. And we've got 450 pounds in each of the main tanks. And we need just shy of 900 pounds anyway. So we're good to go on that. DC volt and load meters, we want to press those to check them. And you press for the volts. So we've got just shy of 80 volts there, just shy of 80 volts there, so we're good to go. Hop down here to do the stall warning test. It should be thoroughly annoying. It is still annoying, therefore it still works. Still don't know how to do the fire detectors and fire extinguishers test. You may remember I told you in the past that I pressed one of these guys and I think it discharged them is what it did, and so that's clearly not the right way to test them. We do need to test our annunciator lights. We have a whole bank of them down here and up here, and we press this little switch and they're all working as they should be. Our database has been reviewed. It is valid and current. It is the AirAct cycle 1506. Now we just want to make sure our rotating beacon is on. You can probably hear me turning the checklist page there. Beacon is on, so we're good to go, which means we can roll right into the engine start checklist. And we're going to go from this position right here. We're going to flip on the right engine ignition and start switch, which is going to be this one here. We're going to be looking for 12% on our N1. And as soon as we get to 12% on our N1, we're going to go ahead and move that condition lever to low idle, monitor temperature and oil pressure, as well as oil temperature and engine temperature. Everybody catch all that? Okay, I'm just going over this again because it's actually been a little while since I've flown. You may not notice the difference in the placement or the time that the videos are uploaded, but it's been about a week since I've flown, so I'm just making sure I got everything right here. And then once we get to 50% N1 or above, we'll flip this switch back off, and then we'll go to high idle and we'll be good to go. Alright, that's the gist of it. Let's go ahead and kick this off. Up. There she goes. We're looking for 12% N1. It's going to get there really quick. There's 12%. Low idle. Engine fires almost immediately. We're looking to go beyond 50. Waiting for it. Turbine N1. We're beyond 50. That can go off now. Turn the auto on. Keep an eye on our engine temperature, our ITT, as well as our oil pressure and oil temperature. They are all in the green, all looking good. So at this point, we can go ahead and move this to high idle. Right generator gets reset and then on. Click it all the way up, it resets itself and then comes on. And then we're going to charge until the load meter reads approximately 0.50 and then turn it off. We've been through this before. I'm guessing that's going to be 0.50. It says percentage of load. It looks like maybe it's beyond that. I still haven't quite figured that out, so if anybody knows what I should be looking for there, please let me know in the comments down below. Okay, all that being said, the right engine is good to go. Generator comes off, and we go ahead and jump right into the left engine start procedure, which is identical with the exception of moving the condition lever to high idle. We won't ever actually do that. Okay, engine's spinning up now. We're looking for 50% on our N1. We're almost there. There it is. If I can find the switch here. There it is. That goes off. Turn that on. Watching our ITT. Watching our oil pressure. Watching our oil temperature. And we are good to go at this point. Right generator comes, reset, and then on. Left generator, reset, and then on. And we can reduce this to low idle. And guess what? That is our engine start procedure. Which means here in just a second, we're going to roll right into the after start and taxi checklist. And what I'm going to do real quick here. Okay, I hopped off for just a second there, and the reason I did is I just wanted to make sure that my voice wasn't being drowned out by the engines, because I've had that happen on a couple of videos a little bit. And sometimes I tend to talk a little quietly, other times I tend to shout into the microphone. So I was just trying to make sure that the sound was pretty good, and it seems like it is. So just a quick little check there, and it's easy to fix during the editing. I'm sure you'll have noticed the change. No problem. We're good to go on everything. We are rocking and rolling as far as the engines are concerned, so we can go into the after start and taxi checklist. So we want to check our DC voltage and load meters, and it doesn't give me any indicator as to what they're supposed to be on here. I can see that we've got plenty of voltage in there and a small load on our load meters, so we're good to go there. Avionics master switch needs to come on at this point, and that's this one here. Come on, there we go. Now it's on. Lights are as required. We're going to need taxi lights, nav lights, recognition lights, and strobe lights. They are all there. Cabin temperature and mode as required. I think the simplest thing to do is set it to auto. I'm sure you'd agree. Instruments have been checked. Brakes will be checked as we start to taxi out, which means all we have to do now is taxi on out, and then we'll do our before takeoff checklist, and we'll be good to go. So that being said, as I always do, I'm going to go ahead and take care of a real quick last minute series of checks just to make sure I didn't miss anything, make sure my flight plan is good to go. I'm going to do that off screen so that you don't have to watch it all, and I will be back shortly and we'll be ready to start taxiing. Okay, as you can see, we've already gone ahead and done our pushback here, and we are ready to start taxiing out for runway 24. So let's go ahead and just get that started right now. Make sure I pull the parking brakes off here. I was going to use the quick button, but I went ahead and do it the real world way there. And we're starting to roll just a little bit already, and that's okay. Go ahead and bring those throttles up just a little bit. We're not very heavy at all, so it shouldn't take us too much to get going here. And we'll go ahead and taxi on down there. I'm not going to make you watch the whole taxi. I usually don't. Not a big deal. We'll just taxi on down a little bit here. See if we can use our beta range to slow the aircraft rather than using the brakes all the time. I think I've told you in the past, a friend of mine who flies these King Airs in the real world said the brakes are just crazy sensitive. They get worn out really quick, and you really want to go easy on them. So we'll try and take advantage of beta mode here. Use minimal braking, although that's not working out all that well for me. I mean, I'm in beta mode, but or beta range. I keep saying beta mode. I've done that a few times in the past, haven't I? Beta range. We want to use the beta range to help slow the aircraft. And one thing you'll notice about this King Air, and you may have noticed by now, we've done a few flights already. It takes a few seconds for those engines to change their speed. So, for example, right now, you know, you can hear the speed or the pitch in the sound of the engines. Now, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to run them up a little bit. I already ran them up. Still waiting. Now you hear them starting to come in, see? And now I've already run them back down. I ran them down. See, they're going up, but I ran them down. And now you hear them starting to come back down, see? So I don't know if that is something that's unique to this aircraft in the real world. My friend told me that it's a pretty accurate simulation, so I'm going to assume that that's how they really are, which is something we need to keep in mind when we're flying this airplane. So we just got to know that there's going to be a delay, and there's a delay, you know, with jet engines too. You may have noticed that from flying those. There's a slight delay, some more than others. For example, a Boeing 777 has a pretty substantial delay in the engine spooling up and slowing down, so something just to keep in mind. Anyway, okay, I'm done talking your ear off here. I'm going to go ahead and finish taxiing out, and I will see you at the before takeoff checklist when we are holding short of the runway. Alrighty then, here we are holding short of runway 24. You can see I actually pulled up a little too far. I mean, we can see the line out there. You're supposed to actually see it in front of the aircraft, but that's alright. Let's not worry about it. We're not perfect on everything. Let's go ahead and take care of our before takeoff checklist. First thing we need to do is make sure that we arm the auto feather switch, and that is this guy right here. Now it's armed. Propeller feathering, manually check. I actually did that when I checked the brakes as well. Fuel quantity, flight, and engine instruments all need to be checked. We're good on all of those. We need to make sure our flight director is on. That's done. That's the little pink guy right there. Bleed air valves need to be open. That's these ones right here, and they are, I'm trying to find the little quick thing that tells me where they are. It won't tell me. They look like they're open to me. I believe up is supposed to be open. Let's see, what else? Annunciator lights extinguished or considered. Left and right ignitions are, the auto ignitions are on. We did not turn on the engine anti-ice. You guys are supposed to tell me about that, remember? Nobody told me. Oh yeah, you can't. Okay, so we should have those lights on there as well. No other annunciator lights to consider. Transponder has been checked. We're staying on the 1200 code right there, if you can't see it. Ice protection as required. Well, the engine anti-ice. I'm going to write that in there because I keep forgetting. I've written some other things in here, but I still haven't written that one in there, so I'll have to write that on my after start checklist. Where are we at? Engine auto ignition as required. We have them on. Attitude, heading, and heading are good to go. As far as we can set the runway heading if we want. It's 245 degrees, so I could go up here and I could crank the heading over. There we go, to 245 degrees. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That's actually a good practice. So let's crank that down. 245. You can see it's right there. 245 degrees. Standby attitude indicator is erect and normal with no fail flag. This is for glide slope, this is for localizer. Those should be there because we're not locked onto one. Last but not least, flaps and landing lights need to come on. Landing lights. And that should have moved the flaps. Maybe I didn't move it far enough. Oh, I did. There we go. Kind of hard to see. You gotta look at it because you don't hear it. Where you at? That's up. There we go. That's where we want to be. Flaps right there. We're good to go on that. Everything else is good to go. Let's go ahead and get this bird in the air. Parking brakes are off at this point. Bring in just a little bit of throttle. We're going to do a rolling takeoff, and we will be making a right turn if the airplane ever wants to go. See, there's that delay in those engines spinning up. You can hear they're coming. Very slowly though. Now they're coming in. We want to back those throttles back off a little bit early because it takes a while for them to come back down. We'll be making a right turn to make our way over to Hoser, which you can see right here. We'll be making our way over to Hoser. Let's get on up there. And I'm going to fly manually for a little bit. Try and see if we can go through the after takeoff checklist while flying manually. We want to rotate at about 95 knots indicated airspeed. We'll be monitoring our engine temperature. Remember that our torque can go way too high really quick if we're not careful, so we definitely want to keep an eye on that, and we don't necessarily want to go full throttle. We are, however, at over 6,000 feet, almost 6,500 feet, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Alright, throttling up. Oh, there's that torque messing around there. It's pretty wild, isn't it? Alright, there's 50 knots there. We're looking good so far. 70 knots. Looking for 95 knots. Looking good. Maybe not dead in the center. There's our rotate speed. Go ahead and rotate gently. And we are airborne. Positive rate of climb. landing gear is coming up at this point. We'll just double check that. It sure is. We're looking good to go there. And she's definitely trying to climb really fast. There's our gear up. We don't want to climb too quick. There we go, looking good there. So gears up, flaps can come up here. Yeah, we're good enough for flaps. So flaps are coming up now. You'll see the nose come down a little. We'll just bring in some trim to keep it from falling too far. We want to go ahead and let that airspeed start coming up. Looking good so far. Yaw damper's already on. Climb power needs to be set. And that's going to be 1800 RPMs on the props. So go ahead and set those first. Looking for 1800 RPMs. And we're still hand flying this aircraft here, just in case you're wondering. So, a little more. That's going to be pretty close there. Prop sync needs to come on at this point. There's our prop sync. Don't worry, we'll be making our right turn here shortly. Auto feather can come off. And we want to just make sure we're flying the plane. Taxi lights can come off, but landing lights need to stay on. Cabin signs will remain as they are. Cabin pressurization is good at the moment. We will be checking it shortly though. Half blower is still off, so we're good there. Let's go ahead and start this right turn as that completes our after takeoff checklist. So just coming into the right turn here. And we are looking good, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking fantastic. Just about to cross over 10,000 feet here, so we can take our landing lights off. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. We can turn our left and right engine anti-ice off, as we don't need them anymore. We're not on the ground. Go ahead and let our speed increase. You can see the torque came up, and so did the temperature. Let's bring that torque back a little bit. Come on down, baby. There it goes. Now it's coming down. All right. Okay, folks, that completes the after takeoff checklist. I'm going to go ahead and take this aircraft on up to cruise altitude, and I will see you up there for the cruise checklist. Boy, I'll tell you what, this thing climbs fast. I've only been away for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. This sucker climbs really quick. But you can see we're coming up on cruise altitude here, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to kick off this cruise checklist. And the first thing is, of course, to set the power in accordance with the cruise power tables. And I've gone ahead and pulled up the tables, and I pulled up the table for 1800 RPMs at negative 10 degrees Celsius, which is what we're actually at, in case anybody's wondering. So what we want to do is we want our torque per engine at 2,230 pounds. That's this one right here, and that's going to be questionable because it's, you probably know by now if you've watched some of these videos that getting that torque set just right, 2,240 pounds, it's going to be over torque. So it's going to be relatively close. But let's go ahead and first let's get our RPMs at 1,800 here. Just need to pull them back a little bit more. That's what we were trying to get at for the climb anyway. So we're pretty close to that. And it doesn't have to be dead spot on. We just want it relatively close. And then we can go ahead and bring our throttles forward to bring that torque up a little bit. Just go ahead and bring those throttles up nice and easy. And I'm going to try and get them around 2,200. That's about where I want to get it. Doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, that's almost full throttle, believe it or not. So we just want to get it as close as we can to that. So we're at about 2,000 there. Bring them up a little bit more. And we're almost full throttle here, in case anybody's wondering. So, and that's going to put us pretty close right there. We're actually just a little high on the right engine as compared to the left seat. 2241, and it over torqued instantly. So I already pulled it back a hair. Let's see if it, see, even at 2236, so just pull them both back just a hair, just a skosh. There we go. Let's see if that does it right there. So that's about as close as we're going to get right there. But this is going to give us around 223 knots indicated airspeed, give or take a little bit. So you can see we're just right at about 2,200 foot-pounds on the torque. So, and you can see our airspeed still coming up a little bit. We're at 214. That's the indicated. That's giving us a true airspeed around 300 knots. So that's pretty darn good. Our ground speed's at 291. We're going to be getting to where we want to go pretty darn quick. All right, enough of that. Engine instruments just need to be monitored. That's all of these guys right here. We want to make sure everything's working properly. We want to monitor, we would monitor the auxiliary fuel gauge. I say this every time. We monitor it to make sure it's flowing out of there evenly, but we don't have any fuel in the auxiliary tanks. So we just want to monitor our primary or our main tanks, make sure fuel is flowing out evenly, which it is, and of course to make sure that we're not going to run out of fuel. Everything looks good there. We are at cruise altitude. We are on course. Everything is set right where we want it to be, so we're going to keep cruising along. I'll keep an eye out for ice. You may remember icing is simulated on this aircraft. So if we get any icing, I will see, talking problems again. If we get any icing, I'll want to make sure that I use the de-icing equipment that's provided on this aircraft. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But other than that, there's nothing else to do until we get to descent. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here now, and I will see you guys just before top of descent so we can take care of the descent checklist. See y'all in a few minutes.
Total 5611, contact departure, have a good flight.
Departure 5611.
Southwest 41, Phoenix Tower, 25 right, line up and wait.
On the way to